Welcome back to the Mobile Home Minute. I'm your host, Mark Kaiser, and this is episode 3, Park Managers, the Boss of the Park. Before we get started here, we want to make sure we understand exactly who a park manager is, what they do, and how you can best work with a park manager. So whether you're buying or selling your mobile home, you have a fantastic working relationship with them. With that being said, we're talking about a park manager and who is a park manager. It's very simple. The park manager is essentially somebody who works in the day-to-day operations of the mobile home park. They can work within the actual park office, they can work off-site. A lot of times they usually live in the park. But that person, they are going to be the main individual, the main contact on premises for every park matter that you can possibly think of. So what exactly do park managers do? Well, the main thing that they're going to handle every single month are going to be lot rent collections. So as we've discussed previously in other episodes, when you pay lot rent, which is a fee each month that you're going to be paying to the mobile home park, that is going to be counted and accounted for by the mobile home park manager. They're also going to be working with any new resident to make sure that they meet the standards for every item that the park requires. So when you go and you want to move into a mobile home park, you do have to get park approved prior to being a resident of the park. The park manager, they're the ones who are going to be handling that. Now, every once in a while, parks will outsource that to a third party. If they do outsource it to a third party to go through the park approval process, the park manager will still be the one to be able to communicate with the potential resident if they've been approved or denied for park residency. The next one that they are always going to be handling are the park vendors. Now, the park vendors are going to be anyone that does work for the park that benefits the community. Okay, so the biggest one is going to be landscapers, folks who go out there and cut the grass if the grass cutting is included in the mobile home park lot rent each month. So landscapers are going to have to be paid, they're going to have to be monitored. That is going to be done by the park manager. Same thing with any type of maintenance on the park. So if a fence is down or if a sign is down, park manager is going to be the contact for that. If you have any issues with the pool or a pool on site, pool cleaners, the pool equipment, all that type of stuff, that is going to be taken care of by the park manager. Park manager is also going to handle any type of resident complaints. So if there are issues going on in the park, those are going to be reflected and told to the park manager. Anytime there's an eviction would be when somebody does not pay the lot rent. The park manager is going to be handing out the evictions, but they're also going to be working with the legal team that the park owner has in order to make sure that the evictions are actually processed. Sometimes, every once in a while, park owners will require park managers to physically sell homes in the park as well. Now, that's another conversation for another day. That's usually something that they don't want to do. It's usually something that is thrown on their already busy schedule. Usually it really puts the park manager at an unfair advantage to be expected to not only keep up with the other 6 items that I just mentioned, and then also have to go and sell homes as well. It becomes a very overwhelming position in the park, as I'm sure you can imagine. Also the fact that most parks only have one park manager. So the whole idea of calling in sick or not showing up, that a lot of times turns out to not even be an opportunity or an option for the park manager. Most park managers usually live on site. So the whole idea of taking your work home with you, that's very prevalent with a park manager's life, because a lot of times, even during the hours they don't represent the park at the office, people know they live in the park. So guess what? People a lot of times are going to think that you're the park manager 24 hours a day. So as you can see, there's a lot of things going on with a park manager. Now, the big point of this episode is to lay out a few ground rules, a few ideas as far as how you can best work with a park manager. Now, I'm going to go down two different ways for this. Number one is going to be if you're living in a park, and number two is if you're selling homes in a park or you're thinking of selling homes in a mobile home park. If you're living in a park, okay, the way to make sure that you get on the right side of the park manager is, number one, pay your lot rent on time and pay it in full. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've worked with park managers and they're at their wits' end because somebody's always paying lot rent late, or they're trying to break it up in multiple payments. Make the park manager's life as easy as possible, and you will never have a problem with the park manager. Second thing is really the less communication that you have with the park manager, the better. And by that I mean all the things that they have to do on a daily basis. If you're going to the park office just to hand off your lot rent, or that's about the only contact you have with them, that's probably a good idea. I can't tell you the amount of times that we've seen park managers, again, become super frustrated because people think the park manager is also their therapist, is also the person they can talk to about everything, their buddy, the person they can hang out with, the person they can just walk into the park office at any point in time during any day and just kind of hang out. It's not what a park manager wants. Park manager is in the office for a very short period of time, usually only a few days a week, probably only a couple of hours each day, and they have 1,000,001 responsibilities to handle. So if you go and you hang out at the park office, that's really going to delay them from getting their work done. That's something that you really don't want to do. So if you see them around the park, being a human being, sure, go and talk to them then. But when they're actually at the office, give them the respect that they deserve right out of the chute. Understand they're there to do a job, and they're there to do a very busy job in a very short period of time. Last thing is, if you're living in a park, to get on the good side of a park manager, really adhere to the do's and don'ts of what the park requires of each resident. Now, the do's and don'ts are going to be the document that you adhered to when you signed the land lease, okay, which told the park that you were going to be the one who was going to be paying the lot rent. That term, the do's and don'ts, is also called a document called the prospectus. Okay, so the prospectus is going to be something that you agree to follow as a resident of the park. Make sure that you follow the prospectus. If it says that you don't have loud parties, or you don't have kids stay at the house, or you don't have this, you don't have that, all those things, following that park prospectus is really the best way to just make sure you adhere to everything in the park so that you and the park manager can continue to have a nice quality relationship going forward. Now, number two, if you're looking to sell homes in the park, the big thing you want to make sure that you do to get on the right side of a park manager is to communicate clearly with the park manager that you are only going to be selling homes to people who are approved by the park. Most mobile home parks in the country require the individual who is buying the home to be approved by the park prior to being able to sign the land lease. Now, if you're the one selling the home for somebody, or if you're looking to sell your own home, the worst thing that you can possibly do with a park manager is to sell the home to somebody who's not park approved, or to just take their word for it that they've been park approved. Don't do that. That spells an absolute disaster without a doubt. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen people get approved or go and buy a home without being approved, for it to then turn into an absolute disaster that the park manager has to go and unfold themselves. Don't do that, guys. I'm telling you, don't do it. Make sure that the person is approved prior to actually closing on the house. The next one is, do not sell a home for somebody, or don't sell your home if you don't have the title already titled in your name. This is something that we see all the time, and every time it becomes a disaster. If you're trying to help somebody out sell the home, if you work for a mobile home brokerage firm or something like that, make sure when you initially meet with the customer to double check to see if the title is in their name. Ask them for their driver's license and put both of them together. If Henry is trying to sell Fred's house, but he doesn't have a good reason why Fred is not there, don't sell the home for him. Vice versa, folks. If you're looking to buy a home and you're talking to Fred and he talks to you and hands you the title and it says Barry on it, get a real good idea of who Barry is and why is he not there. If you go the opposite direction and just assume that you can buy the house without being park approved, it's going to become a disaster for everybody involved. This, I promise you. Last but not least, make sure that if you're selling somebody's house, or if you're selling your own house, to get on the good graces of a park manager, once the home is actually closed on, make sure that buyer is physically going to the office to sign the land lease. That land lease will do two things. Number one, it'll ensure that the buyer is going to be legally responsible to pay the lot rent. And number two, when they sign the land lease on that park home, that's going to take you off the land lease, or your clients off the land lease. Until that land lease is signed, it doesn't frankly matter who owns the house. The person who is paying the land lease is responsible for paying the lot rent. So you always have got to make sure to stay on the good graces of the park manager. Once the home is closed, make sure then that the new owner is going in there and getting the land lease put in their name, so now they are responsible for paying the lot rent, and you or your client is now off the land lease so that you don't have to be paying the lot rent moving forward. Here's a pro tip with going forward, okay? Here's an absolute pro tip. If you're looking to sell the house and you're looking to help somebody out, or you're looking to work for a brokerage firm, always remember this tip. The park manager is going to be the boss wearing the pants in the entire situation, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean that if you're going to be a jerk to them, expect for your park approvals to either not happen, for them to take forever, for them to not get approved, for the client, if they're on the line of getting approved, for the park manager not really going to bat for you. It can make your life from a from a home selling standpoint an absolute disaster. You don't have to be best friends with a park manager, folks, whether you live in a park or whether you're selling a home for someone in a park. What you do have to do, and I strongly suggest you do have to respect them. You have to respect the rules of the park and understand that they are going to be the enforcer of those rules in a park. So regardless of what you think or what you say, essentially what the park manager says goes in a mobile home park. Well, folks, that's all we have today for this episode of the Mobile Home Minute. I hope you found great information in this and how to work with a park manager. Park managers a lot of times have a thankless, tough job, and you've got to respect them right from the get-go. Being able to respect them, being able to work with them will make your life as a resident or as someone selling a mobile home much easier. This I promise you. Folks, my name is Mark, and as always, we'll see y'all on the next one.